G'day, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the channel, and the question is how to be a good father. This question was prompted by 25-year-old Latham in Australia who's got a brand new 3-week-old baby son. He is of Pacific Island descent. He was adopted with his twin when he was young. I'm not sure to what family or who. And his partner, she's Māori, and he's 25 years of age. And he watches the channel, and he's what prompted this whole video I'm about to make for you guys. Actually, I'm making it for every father that's starting off. Particularly, I made this for Latham, and I've written and told him these things, but I'll share it with you. Let's just see what he wrote to me. We'll go through all the sort of stuff, introducing himself and that, and we'll get down to the question. The question was, what does it take to be a good father? I would like to say I have a good support system where I can ask these questions to my own father. However, he works a lot as well as myself. That's what it's like for a young dad. You're bloody working all the time. You don't have time to be hands-on with your partner and your child. I get that, particularly young and got to pay a rent. I don't have mates that I can resonate and talk with too. It's a lonesome feeling sometimes. Damn right it is, mate. I feel within me that you would be a good person to ask. Right there, man, I'm just absolutely bloody humble because I'm not the perfect father by any means. I do have a good relationship and friendship with my children today, but I wasn't always great, and I made my fair share of mistakes. I'm a drinker. Not a big drinker, but a drinker, I swear. And I've done the stupid things that dads do, push my kids too hard and sometimes, and been too hard on them or not hard enough. I've made all the classic mistakes. However, I've got through this, and one thing I have done is I've evolved as I've become a dad. So there may be some things that I can share with Latham and everybody else that's being a dad here. So I've written this email to him, which I'm going to sort of give you guys the cut down version because it does draw on a little bit, and I'm also a really crap reader, so when I'm reading my own stuff, I'll digress a wee bit and do the best I can. All I'll say is that, first of all, before I kick us in the guts, being a dad is the coolest thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. When I'm with my children today, it brings me absolute joy. I don't really care about much else. Man, I'd give my kidneys to keep them alive. I'd die for my kids. That's how it is when you're a parent. You love them and you put them first, but you also have your own life and keep yourself well and happy. It's a balancing act. But being a dad is something I've never ever regretted. And even though it took me away from some of my own dreams and aspirations, things I wanted, you know what? I've picked them back up since the kids have grown up and carried on. You can do that. Right, we'll kick it in the guts. So I've congratulated Latham on being a good dad, and I said, to begin with, to be a good dad, you must support the mother and the child. It's a whole package deal, bro. You can't put it all to the mum or the child. It's the whole package. So really, really important. It takes a lot of responsibility, which comes with many great rewards, which I've already spoken about. Now, in the early years, it can often be challenging. Your child, as a baby, can deprive you of sleep, deprive you of lots of things. You've got this little wee thing that goes, wah, shits everywhere, wah, shits everywhere. It doesn't give a hell of a lot back other than you seeing it there for the first year or two. And that can really be difficult if you've got sleep deprivation, you're working long hours, you come home, you're exhausted, and then you've got this baby that's keeping you awake all night, and your partner's too tired. You've got to get up and change the nappies, stinking nappies, 3 in the morning, you just want to go to sleep. And then it starts screaming its head off because either it's teething or something. And this is really, really important. I'm gonna talk about this because it's a real tragedy, man. But in New Zealand, every 5 weeks, a child in New Zealand dies through domestic violence. Can you believe that? That's 1 out of every 8 homicides we have in New Zealand as a child. And what's even worse is most of those children, a great majority of those children, are under 2 years of age. So, and when I say this to you, Latham, anybody else, I know you would never, ever, ever dream of hurting your child. But when you're right at your very end and you're just so exhausted and, you've been working so hard and there's other stresses going in your life and maybe other health problems or any sort of problem, and then you've got this little thing which is screaming and shitting and keeping you awake, sometimes people snap and sometimes they hurt their babies. So we need to address this. And what I want to say to you is this. If you ever find yourself in that situation with your beautiful little baby and you've just passed everything and you just can't handle it anymore, and you've got it, and you're thinking of doing something to quieten it down, something bad. Take that child, go into another room, place it in a bed as much as it's screaming, put a blanket over it so it's nice and warm, close the door, walk away. It can cry in there, no harm can really come. You're better to walk away and go and say to your partner, listen, I'm really struggling right now. I just cannot handle this. I'm going to snap in a minute. That baby can cry. It'll go to sleep eventually. It's not going to die. Unless it's got something really critically wrong with it, and that's a different issue again. Like if it's got something real pain. But on the whole, you just have to put, in most cases, that child aside. So you remove yourself before you do something harmful to the child. And I raise this issue because it does happen. It's a horrible thing to talk about, but it's there. So let's look at it. And none of us are like, we can all snap at some stage. We're all just winging it as parents. I was just winging it the whole way, making up as I was going along. And I made some stupid mistakes, did some silly things. And in the end, I was lucky. I'm lucky I never hurt my kids. But it can happen, and some parents do. Or other people can hurt their children without them knowing about it. So be vigilant about that. And I say this to you because it does happen. So, let's... even the most loving parents do it. So look after yourself in that regard, and also support your partner and share the duties so she doesn't become too tired and stressed, and also snap. But keep it even as best you can. That's on that. Right, we've got that one out of the way, which I didn't really want to talk about or even enjoy talking about, but it is a reality, so I had to talk about it. Sounds like I've got a chopper flying overhead. Sounds like an army helicopter. Anyway, got a lot of aircraft flying over here. Anyway, that is all that stuff. Let's talk about the good stuff. Well, it's maybe not good stuff. It's almost like you've got to be a bit of a policeman. You've got to sort of like police things. It's about setting boundaries. And it is good stuff because, whether you're training a hunting dog or a working dog or a child, you've always got to have those firm boundaries. A little puppy growing up is much happier if he knows where he can go and can't go. And the same applies to your kids. I'll go through a little bit about this. I won't read the whole lot. As your child grows, it needs to know what its boundaries are. They must always stay the same. You don't keep shifting the goalposts. They are there. That's where they stay. As an example, if your little boy is not allowed to play on your workshop bench, then he's not allowed to play on there, and that's firm, and it doesn't like change. If you can change that from one day to the next, that will cause confusion, and he'll grow up being unsure of where he's allowed to go, what he's allowed to do. Children grow up feeling more safe and secure when they know where their boundaries are. Now, a child will test your boundaries. They will. They will push them out all the time because they're inquisitive, intelligent little buggers that like to work out what's going on and can I get away with this. So it's really important that you and your partner sit down and both agree on the same boundaries. If playing on the road with the traffic is a no-no, if you say you're not allowed to go out and play on the road, Johnny, that Johnny's not allowed to go out and play on the road, and Mum's also going to be on the same page with that, and she's also going to say, no, Johnny, you cannot play on the road. You can explain that you might get killed by a car, but to a 3-year-old, they don't have that logic to process that and work it out. I might get killed, because they don't even know what getting killed is. They don't even understand death or that sort of thing. So that's where parents have got to both kick in. And the same applies to your dog, isn't it? Your dog's not allowed to play on the road because it gets run over because they don't understand about cars. Same applies to your kids. Keep the boundary the same. It's firm. It's not negotiable. It's always there. And if they overstep that boundary, then there's consequences. And those consequences should not be a hard smack. They shouldn't be like where you lose your cool and get really angry. They are a firm talking to. You do not go on the road. Do you understand that? You can play it how you like, and then there's got to be a punishment. But, smacking your kids. I grew up in that area where we got smacked at school. We got smacked. And everybody says, it's okay. Well, some people say it's okay. That's debatable, but I'll tell you this. Getting smacked as a child installed fear into me. And if you've got a sensitive child, do you want to install fear into that child? Do you want to install fear into your child? I don't think getting smacked is cool. I think that children shouldn't be hit. Same as you can train a dog 2 ways to do something. You can use a method where it's, and I shouldn't really be comparing dogs to children because they are different, because like as far as stock proofing goes, well, that's a different matter again. But say, you're trying to get your dog to come, the classic thing is it doesn't come, and then when it finally comes and you're so angry, come here, and finally it comes here and you smack it, well, that's just taught the dog, when I come, I get hurt, so it's not going to come. Next time it's going to sneak away further. With your kids, it does something very similar. You're much better when it comes finally is to praise it, because the dog's forgotten about all the other times he didn't come, and just concentrate on the positive. There are consequences. Children have to learn consequences to their actions. They've got to learn that there is things that they've got to be responsible for if they stuff up. But don't be violent with your children. Simple. Okay, moving along. I know not everybody's going to agree with that, but that's just my spin on it. Where was I? All right. It's a tough world out there, and the best thing we can do to prepare our kids for it is lots of love, compassion, care, healthy food. Healthy food's important, you know. Chances are if you're eating processed food and sugar, your kids are going to end up doing the same and growing up with the same health problems that you'll incur if you eat that rubbish. Feed them the good tucker, you know, fish, meat, vegetables, fruit, all whole grain stuff, all the really natural good stuff. Don't give them rubbish. Otherwise they end up having health problems. It's just as simple as that. You don't want your kids to grow up with problems, so start them off on the right tucker. And you don't need to be a nutritionist, no, that's just bloody common sense. You know, if your child grows up seeing you do something wrong, there's a good chance that it will repeat the same pattern. So be a good, honest man. Show how you care to others. You know, your child will mimic everything you do. That's what kids do. They're like little sponges. They pick everything up. You know, if you grew up seeing your dad, like, going around helping the neighbours and being good to you, being good to your mother, you know, coming home and giving you a hug and saying, I'm proud of your son, I love your son, you know, oh, you've done great at school, and or pulling you up, hey, you know, this is not acceptable, you're going to grow up pretty much the same. And you see this in families where there's domestic violence. Those same kids perpetuate it, and it goes on and on again. You know, a lot of the work I do with young men, they have come from families that's been their background, and they're just repeating the pattern and repeating the pattern. So here's the thing. If you came from that background, you have an obligation to change yourself. Now, this is so hard because it all goes on in your subconscious. You don't bloody know what's going on there, do you? And as an example, I mean, just take, for instance, we've got, say, Alison, this makeup person, Alison. And you say to Alison, hey, Alison, you know what? You're just like your mum. You know, you've got that same mad thing your mum does with, you know, like always having to have the tabletop clean. And you start talking about Alison, how mum is, she'll go, stop! I'm nothing like my mother. I'm nothing like her. Alison doesn't want to hear it because Alison doesn't recognise it, because that's the thing. It's in her subconscious. She's very much like her mum. You know what? Good chance she's going to grow up acting just like her mum, even though she didn't want to. Now, the negative things that her mum installed into her and that she saw, she's also going to repeat those. But she's unaware of it because she doesn't even realise she's like her mum. Well, the same applies to you. There's things that you'll be doing that are wrong. Now, how do we know? Well, first of all, your partner's going to pull you up on it. And this is where you don't get angry. You say, really? And you take a look at that. You know, if she says, look, and I don't want you doing this with Johnny, this is unacceptable. You know, you can't smack him with a stick like that, or you can't berate him or put him down like that. You know, you can't swear at him, you know, and make him less than who he is. You know, this is unacceptable. You can listen to that. You can't say, oh, my dad brought me up like this and I turned out all right. No, you didn't turn all right because you're being horrible to your child. Listen to other people when they correct you. Don't get angry. If you're getting angry, that just shows there is a problem. That anger is your anger. It doesn't come from them, it's yours. You always had it. Where did it come from? It came from something that happened most likely in your childhood. So hear other people out when they tell you something, you know. We're never going to get it perfect, but we can go a hell of a long way by listening to others and being guided and using our conscious mind to think, is this acceptable? Is what I'm doing right now good? And if you listen to that, most of the time you get it right. You'll be sweet as, bro. Right, I'll move on from that one there because that's kind of a deep one, which I'm not really qualified to talk that much about, but I'm just going off what I've seen from a lot of young fellas that I look after and that, and quite often that is a pattern being repeated. As your child grows, there will be many rewards and incredible moments that you will share. And this is the cool thing. I just do not on any level regret having children. People say, oh, I gave up this for my children. I gave up that. Yes, I stopped playing music in Europe and came to New Zealand to raise my children. It was awesome. I had a great time playing music in Europe. I don't regret giving that away. It was good to move away from that and move into something awesome as being a dad. It's a great privilege to be a dad. And today I've got awesome relationships with my awesome kids because I stepped away from that. And maybe I'll step back into it now they're all grown up. Who knows? Mind you, with COVID-19, probably won't be travelling anywhere for a while. So it comes with these great these great rewards and incredible moments, and the smallest things. It may be your son's first steps, or maybe your daughter, on the wharf with you fishing and catching her first fish and pulling it up and her eyes popping out of her head going, look, and they see this little fish. It's a great feeling. It could be the simplest thing, like you and your partner have been working hard all day. Really, you've got all your jobs out of the way, you're tired, and you're having a bit of time together on the couch, and you just turn around, you see your baby there in the crib, fast asleep, peacefully sleeping. It's got a full belly, roof over its head, it's warm, and you just get that feeling of, this is what being a mum and dad's all about. Or you may be a single parent doing it. That's okay too. I was a single parent for a lot of my children's life. And that's all right, so long as you share it round. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Sometimes I think it takes a child to raise a village. Sometimes I think it's the other way around, because I've learnt so much from my children. So that could kind of turn around. So, there's going to be challenges as well. There's no doubt about it. And all fathers and all mothers make mistakes. That's just part of being human. The most important thing is that when your child's older, that you validate any of their past grievances they want to talk to you about. You say, hey, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. It may not be something you necessarily agree on, but hear them out anyway. And think about what they are saying. And a classic one for me would be my daughter. She said I pushed her too hard when she wanted to start running. And looking back, she was right. I did push her too hard. And it was bloody hard for me to admit that. But I own that. And also with her music, she says I pushed her too hard. And I said, listen, honey, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. And today that was the thing that really upset her, and she felt that I put too much pressure on. And because I've validated that feeling with her and talked to her about it, she's really good with me now. We have a really, really closeness that next to none, where she shares her most, deepest fears, and anything she wants to talk about, she knows she can trust me because I will validate her feelings. It's so important. And some of you guys that are hard-ass might be going, nah, that's, harden up. And if I've done something that hurt that child, has got to get over it, or you've got to be hard. It's a hard world. Well, that's absolute bullshit, of course, and I'll tell you why. I talked to a guy 72 years of age when I was fishing off the wharf the other day. Right, when he was at school, he was bullied by one of his teachers. They used to cane kids in those days. Well, I used to cane them when I was a kid too. And this teacher drew blood more than once for the most unnecessary things, and his father never stood up to that teacher. He was bullied and bullied and bullied, and the kid really suffered. Now, that father's long dead. He never apologised to his son for not standing up, and that father got completely disrespected by his son for that. And today, in his 70s, here he is on the wharf all these years later. We're talking like 60 years later, and he's still carrying that hurt, that pain from his dad not stepping up and showing support, and stepping in and correcting something he should have done as a father. He shouldn't have allowed his son to be hurt like that. And the damage carried right through his life. So don't make that mistake. If your child has any sort of thing that they come to you with, then validate it. Hear it out. You don't have to agree with it. They might say, yeah, you're way too hard on me, Dad, when you made me go pig hunting. You might go, well, that's how I grew up, and I used to go hunting. No, that's fine. It's all right. No, all you say is, I hear you, son. I'm sorry. I hear you. That's all you got to say if you don't agree with it. Just so he knows you've heard him and you've got it inside you. And you might go away and process that over the years, and you might go, well, actually, you know what? My son is different to me. He's actually really sensitive. He's really creative. He's actually cleverer than me. He's more intelligent than me. He might have a good reason for not wanting to go going hunting with me those days. And when I tell you guys this right now, I'm actually talking about me and my own son, because he's a fantastic, smart kid. He's highly intelligent, and I put that down to him not being my biological son, because I raised him from a baby, although he wasn't mine. And he didn't enjoy hunting. And we've talked about that, and that's cool. And he's way brighter than me, so who's to say, I own that one as well. Anyway, where are we? I'm going to wrap this thing up because I've probably gone too far. Where am I? It's always important to hear your child out. It might be hard to admit that you've made mistakes and your own shortcomings, but it's important not only for the child, but also for you to own them, for your own evolution. And that's the thing, we're all evolving, hopefully. I mean, imagine if you didn't evolve. Imagine if you stay right in the same place where you always are, and you didn't grow. Like, you know, you're a bit shit today and you're still just a bit shit this day and you never get any better. The thing is, I don't think I was always a good dad, but I think today I am a good dad because I allowed myself to evolve. And you've got to evolve too, and that means hearing things you don't want to hear about yourself sometimes, accepting it. You don't wake up one morning and go, Clay, this morning I'm going to evolve. This morning I'm going to do something amazing and grow. You don't do that. What happens is life throws something at you, either a crisis or somebody challenges you, and you listen and you take it on. And hopefully you become a little bit wiser. You know, these are only my feelings and experiences that I'm sharing with you. And I'm open to being wrong on any of these points. If you want to challenge me, please do. Because that's healthy. Healthy debate is good. Have fun with your kids. Make quality time with them. They'll be gone before you know it. One day you go in there, you open up your son's room, and hello, he's gone. Because that's what they do. They fly the nest. And that's what we want. We want them to get on with their own lives. We want them to go out into the world and experience it. It hurts when they go. We have an attachment, but we've got to let them go, and that's part of it. And when we do, we then get back to the things like we were doing, like me. Well, I was going to go back to Europe and try and do some music, but now with COVID-19, I'll be hanging around here making these videos, talking to you guys. I think if you really get it right, with your kids, your lives will be richer, their lives will be richer, and even though you're going to make mistakes, so long as you can put those mistakes right, we'll all be better off and have a really amazing network around us. I think most parents would agree there's nothing more important than their children. I don't know if it goes the same way with the kids. We seem to be things they don't really think, we're just there for their use. And I think it's not till they get to mature adults they start to look at us as actual people with their own feelings and our own stuff going in our lives. But eventually they do. And I think particularly a lot of daughters that fall out with their mums, you know, when they go through that like bitch face sort of stage where they're like little princess bitch face. You read the book? Good book, parents. If you're having trouble with your daughter, read it. Princess bitch face. They go through this the stage of like everything is, you know, falling to bits and, oh, I hate you and I hate this. And they generally fall out with their mums. Normally dad holds it together a bit. But quite often, by the time they're like 19, 20, 21, 22, they start coming back to their mums and making peace and becoming really good friends. And that's also part of that breakaway, growing new parts of the brain and coming back together again. It's an amazing experience, isn't it, being a parent? And that's my spin on it. I hope you found it useful. Be good. If you can't be good, then well, be careful. See you later.